Welcome back to This Seat's Taken, where I'm your host, Rob Miranda. I got another recurring guest, actually, another guest that pretty much saved my ass because I had somebody lined up for this episode, but they backed out. But Brandon Cole, you stepped up to the plate and helped me pretty much put the show episode onto this week. So thank you for coming on, dude.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite. Always happy to be here.
I love doing these movies, doing these episodes, but it's always just so much more cooler and better for someone who really enjoys movies as much as I do. I'm not hating on the people who don't really do it because those episodes are good too because I've definitely nitpicked movies to its core. Like Barbie, I tore it apart. Like I didn't enjoy it, but then it's Warner Brothers like biggest movie right now, like ever. And people who are
Million dollar.
just going to see it are just enjoying it. Like so I'm like, it's not a bad thing. I have just talked to normal people who go to the theaters. We were just talking before this movie, before we started recording. Somewhere blockbusters are coming to an end. I would say Gran Turismo pretty much is its last one. I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
It's a
okay.
great film.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Gran Turismo and Strays, I should say. The next big movie coming out next week is the Denzel Washington one, Equalizer 3. I'm excited for that one, but I wouldn't consider that like an blockbuster.
You know what? It may get an honorable mention, like what do they say, like a bookend. You know, just to get us home.
Yeah, because shortly after that is spooky season starting. All these horror movies are coming out. You got like The Nun 2, the Freddy Night. What is that movie called?
Friday night at Freddy's.
Friday Night at Freddy's. Thank you. And then you have like the Exorcist movie. All these horror movies are coming out, so we're definitely getting that time of the year, and it's not going to be too long before we get all these Christmas movies coming out. Um, and then we talked about a million times on this podcast, like the strikes coming back. A lot of the big movies I was looking forward to this year, like the Dune 2 just got pushed back till next year. And Zendaya's new movies got pushed back. And even movies that are supposed to release next year are getting pushed back even further into the year. So it's sucking right now in this time of year.
No, it's terrible. Delay after delay after delay. And I guess it's for a good cause, but to be a movie fan, today is like National Cinema Day. So I love that, but it hurts right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up National Cinema Day. I know you just got off of work right now, so you didn't really get a chance to enjoy, but AMC and a lot of movie theaters had $4 tickets. I did go see. I experimented with this episode. I'm gonna let you know because we're gonna be talking about Gran Turismo, and also we're gonna do a double feature instead of a throwback movie. We're gonna be talking about Strays. I experimented with these. I seen these during the week, but then I also seen them both for a second time before we recorded this episode. And the reason I did that, I just want to experiment to see if they hold up the second time watching them. That's gonna like take a factor in my ranking later in the episode. And it did a little bit, and we'll get more into it when we get to the movies.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. He's now I'm excited.
Gran Turismo, we're going to be talking about this movie. Like I said a couple episodes ago, it was supposed to come out in the beginning of the month, and they pushed it back to the end. And my thinking is because they were hoping the strikes would be over and they would be able to have a premiere for this movie. Um, and unfortunately, nothing changed. Nothing's changed with the strike, so they just released it without having any premieres, which is so heartbreaking because these actors, these young kids, they deserved it. Like they did such a good. This is a great movie, and I can't wait to talk about it. But they were robbed of that experience. I feel like the main actor in this movie. Let me pull up his name. Archie Madekwe. I could say that totally wrong. I wasn't excited for his character in this movie. He looked like he was an okay actor, but then I seen him like holy cow, he blew me out the water. And I looked up his IMDb. He has a lot of movies coming out, like either this year or like a couple years, like maybe within the past year or two, and so many more projects coming out. He is like an upcoming star, and like you're robbing him these early experiences, and it's just sad to see. Like we talked about, like I understand the reasoning for these strikes, but you're like not only robbing the actors, but you're like robbing the moviegoer of their experiences. I want to see these movies. It just sucks.
Yeah. And with him too, I don't know if you ever watched the show C with Jason Momoa's Apple Plus series. He's like Jason Momoa's kid. So I
Oh,
know
really?
him from there. Like in my head, he's like super young. So this was my first time, like, I'm proud of the dude. He's breaking out. He's got a movie star role. I was really excited to watch him.
Well, I just seen his IMDb. He just came out with that Netflix movie with Gal Gadot, the spy movie. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but he's in there.
Something about heart.
Sea of a Heart or something like that. So yeah, but I'm still gonna keep my eye on this kid a lot more. Like I know he's a British actor, but he has potential. I'm excited to see. Um, when this movie came out, I was kind of excited to see it, but the more I go to the theaters to see the trailers, like, okay, this is pretty cool. And on top of that, it's a true story, and I love biopics. What was this movie theater packed when you went to their premiere?
It was half and half.
Hmm.
Like it's same as you. I think I went open at night that Thursday, and it was super easy to get a seat. It wasn't packed, but my crowd, they clearly came to see it for a reason. So like the energy was there as well.
Yeah, I love that the energy. Um, I had originally bought my ticket for 8 o'clock showing Thursday night opening night. But then my dad wanted to go, so I looked to buy him a ticket, and it was sold out, which I've never seen that before. So I was like, what
Okay.
is going on? So I couldn't get him a ticket, so I switched it to the 7 o'clock premiere. And there's only like four other people in the theater. I was like, how is that possible? And then when we go to the theater, I asked the guy, like, is this movie really sold out? He's like, no, it's just the projector's down. So I was like, what the?
Oh no.
I was like, oh shit, this movie's getting really hype, but then now they're just doing maintenance on it. Um, and I went there. There's like a good handful of people, and the same thing. Like people who go there want to see it for a reason, and the energy was there. Like everyone was laughing at the right parts. Everyone was like kind of getting emotional. One of the movies where I want to talk about why I love this movie, like I felt like you felt almost every emotion watching this movie. How I've been describing this movie to people, I get the same feelings, like adrenaline rush and like emotions I felt like as I did when I watched Top Gun Maverick last year.
Oh wow. Okay.
Would you agree with that or disagree?
I like I 80% agree.
I know I did see your like a quick review right after you seen the movie 3.5 or something like that. And I was like, oh man, this movie is so perfect to me. And to see you like say something, you didn't say nothing bad about it, but you just didn't totally agree with me. I was like, why? So I was
Yeah,
excited.
but that's the beautiful part. I knew I was going to talk to you about it, and I was like, I need to unpack this. I think genuinely, like kind of jumping ahead, it's probably closer to a 4 than a 3.5, but we got some stuff.
Yeah, so before we go any further, I want to talk about the director. Director Neill Blomkamp, written by Jason Hall, Zach Balin, and Alex C. This movie is based on the unbelievable, inspiring true story of a team of underdogs, a struggling working class gamer, a failed former race car driver, and idealistic motorsport executive who risk it all to take on the most elite sport in the world. Are you a big racing fan outside of this movie?
No.
Me neither. It's never been on my radar. And I honestly never even considered them athletes until they broke it down in this movie. Like, I guess, yeah, they totally are athletes. Like my dad still doesn't think they are, but like they're still training. Like it's nothing someone off the street could do.
Yeah, I definitely considered them athletes beforehand, but this reinforced it. Even when they're talking about like, they experience more G-force than astronauts, like stuff like that. I was like, oh, I did not think about it like that.
And this is not your typical NASCAR racing too. Like these guys are doing tracks like twisted turns, like all it's way harder than just going in the circle like NASCAR, I would say. I don't even think this sport is in the United States. I think it's mostly just overseas. And I think it's banned in the US for a reason. Like I didn't have time to look it up, but I'm pretty sure it is. First reactions. What did you think of the movie?
Okay, so overall, definitely liked it. I enjoyed it. I think my critiques of it, if I sit down, they mainly come from the story itself, not the movie. Like it's more so the everything's built on the fact that this guy's a racer, right? And maybe it's the connection to him being an athlete or not. But at one point, like after he gets his license, to me, all the hate that he gets is like useless. He has his license. Like he is a NASCAR driver. So like what are we doing? I guess or like he's a certified racer. So it's like the equivalent to me of like if an NBA star played a lot of 2K. It's like he already proved that he can do the thing. Why are people giving him crap for it? So I think that was my big hang up. But other than that, man, it is a true underdog story. It's inspirational. I loved it.
Out of all the things in this movie, that was like the last thing I thought you were gonna say. Like, of course, this guy is still gonna get hate. He probably gets hate today for that stuff.
Dude.
People, there's just haters out there. That hate isn't gonna go away. People are just gonna be stubborn. They just want to hate you for some reason.
And
Um,
I guess I
I
get that part for sure. Like even when they were talking about Twitter, 100% understand.
yeah.
But like actual racers who he's beating, like what are you doing? You know, like that's where my big issue came with.
I really loved this movie. I thought you were gonna say something like, yeah, it's based on a true story. So obviously not every single thing is gonna be true in it. They do I can tell they threw some Hollywood cliches in there to make it more of a lovable story. Cause like I think this plot with the iPod, like with him gifting an iPod was kind of like, cheesy. The girl part, his love interest was all cliche.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'm honestly I compare this movie earlier to like the Karate Kid, with the mentor and the nemesis and stuff like that, and the girl. It's very similar to the aspects, because like it's almost like a formula they followed in this movie.
Yeah.
They had to have a mentor, they had to have a nemesis and a girl. That's basically what they did, and they threw in like a father son relationship, a family aspect to it too. So I knew some parts in there were like obviously going to be cheesy cliches, but the way they did it was so touching and so genuine, and I'm genuinely curious to see how much of this is accurate. I tried researching a little bit. Most of it's true. Obviously, you said there's some Hollywood aspects to it, but I went in there kind of skeptical. I wasn't too sure how I was going to like it because, like I said, I wasn't really a big fan of the sport. But what really drew me in was David Harbour.
Yeah. Oh, he you puked on my lawn or my
Yeah,
grass.
yeah.
It's so
He
good.
I watched this movie mostly a second time just for him. He killed it in this movie. He's such a
Yeah.
great actor. I love him so much in this movie. He had the biggest character development for me in this movie. I felt like because he's a totally different character by the end of it. He's this grouchy old man. Definitely, I'm going to be comparing to the Karate Kid so much, like a lot Mr. Miyagi kind of guy. And then he's like a father, almost like a father figure to this guy. He's definitely a mentor. And
Yeah, to me too, when he the first speech that he gives him is, I'm rooting for you to fail. Basically,
yeah,
I'm here to prove that you guys are terrible. And then by the end,
yeah, yeah.
he's amazing.
To the end where he's like tearing up for this kid too. So obviously this is a true story, and I was kind of confused about the timeline a little bit because when you first into this movie, it says 25 years ago like, this video game was made, and they don't really like okay present day or like in 2019 or whenever this movie takes place. I'm assuming it's recent years because they have like all these game simulators like YouTube and Twitter and all Instagram. So
Twitch, all that.
yeah, I'm only assuming like this is most recent years. Um, and this place takes it's not in the US at all. It starts in Wales and England and focuses on his family a little bit. There's definitely a separation between the first act, the second act, and the third act, which it's like a 2 hour and 14-minute movie. Flew right by for me.
Good.
The first movie and the first act is like him, like just introducing. He really has a love for this gaming system. Like his family doesn't really understand it at all. Like most parents would do, I would say. Like, why are you wasting your time? And the dad, let me pull up the dad's name because he's been in so many
Is that
things.
Jaime Hansu?
Yes,
Yeah.
I recently just seen another movie. Obviously, he's in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Yeah, he's in
Um,
every.
he was been around long. I've been watching him longer than I thought because I just watched the movie Beauty Shop the other day, and he was a love interest in that movie.
Man puts in work.
He's such a good actor too. I would definitely compare him to like Idris Alba kind of acting skills.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he killed it in this movie as like a concerned parent. Him playing the concerned parent in this movie, he did phenomenal in it. He definitely brought me to tears, like when he had his monologue at the end, when he's telling his son how proud he was. It was such a good moment for him, and he killed it. Um, so anyway, he plays his father in this movie, and of course, like like I said, parents aren't really gonna understand their hobby for these kids, so he's kind of like hating on him at the same time, like. But he's also controversial, and they point about this like I'm supporting you. You can do anything you want, just believe in yourself, blah blah blah. But then when it comes to time where the kid, let me see, pull up his name, John, really wants to do what he wants to do. He doesn't think it's safe for him. He's telling him you're wasting your time. We don't live in that world, which it's complicated because like yeah, you do want to be supportive of your kids, but I can see his reasoning for not wanting to do it. Like that's like if like I wanted to grow up and be an astronaut. Like my parents like they would say, "Yeah, you can do it," but once I start doing it, like I'm sure they're not gonna really expect me to go to the moon, stuff.
So, and I guess this comes back, and again, all of my issues, and maybe it's the way that it was told, but I am with you 100%. That his scene at the end broke me. That is,
Mhm.
I actually genuinely, the single tear was like, dang, this got me choked up. However, one, his parents' like entire involvement in this was confusing to me because at one point you're like, all right, wouldn't they be there for most of this stuff? Like when he's doing his first race. Like, I get if they're not, it's one thing to not be supportive, but you're like not showing up at all.
Yeah.
That can mess me up. I liked when they were like showed that they were watching the whole time, as I guess what we can infer. Love that. But his dad's whole thing is he was a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen overnight. You think that when he told his parents, "Oh, I'm not going to go to school. I want to play professional football," they were like, "Good, no." Like, so he must have had that adversity. I just struggle with him being like so tough on his son because his whole thing was like, "There's no path." And then he wins the tournament. He goes to his first race. He proves that there's his path, and then his dad's so like, "Nah." Like, like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I don't know because like I said, this does take place in England starting off with where like almost every household plays soccer there or football there.
Fair,
So
fair,
it's not like
fair.
too different out of their aspects. And we don't know too much about the dad. Like maybe there is soccer players in his or football players in his family. But I can see what you mean. I totally agree. Like I thought, why wouldn't you be there for at least the first couple races?
Yeah.
But maybe like they're struggling for money and they can't really fly out there or something. I don't
He
know.
flew out his girl. He can fly out his parents.
Yeah. Yeah. So um and it's not like he found a way. He got very, very lucky in finding this way. Like I would say
Yes,
like
much so. He
Orlando
almost
Bloom. We haven't really talked about Orlando Bloom. I was shocked to see him in this kind of movie. I feel like I haven't seen him in forever.
sadly enough, I didn't even notice it was him until about halfway through. I was like, "Where do I know this dude
Yeah.
from?" Like, I was like, "Ah, man, I felt so stupid." He also kills it in his
Yeah.
own right.
Yeah. Yeah. He was phenomenal in this movie. But anyways, he plays like this marketing guy who goes to Nice. I guess I'm pronouncing it wrong. They call it
Nissan or Nyson.
Nyson. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we call it Nissan. I was like, Nyson. He goes to Nyson with a free because I think he works for PlayStation, I believe, at this point. With an idea like, hey, let's combine these two worlds. Like the creator of Gran Turismo like made us. It's not a game; it's a simulator. They call it, and well, let's take some of these players and put them in real life, like as a marketing gimmick almost. Everyone's like thinking it's a joke. Like no one really believes in him, but Nissan takes him on. I was like, all right, well, trust you, but like, he's on very thin ice because like one, it could be super dangerous, and two, like they're gonna be the laughing stock of the racetrack, and three, like it's just unpractical. Like you have to find the players, you have to find a coach. So, but they take him on, and he throws on this competition, just for like the top, I think 20 or 10, top 20 best racers on
Oh yeah,
all time. They only let the top 10 in, which our guy John, he gets the first place, which is incredible, which is very unheard of. He proved himself because he's locked in the time. Like you see a little bit. I love the graphics in this movie too. Like he's zoned in.
fantastic.
He's
10 out of 10.
zoned into the game. Like it's almost like he's picturing it right in front of his life. It's like you see like a car foam around him a couple times in his bedroom playing. Freaking amazing how they did that. And also like when they're racing, in his mind, he's also doing like player one, player two, and like he's seeing the lines of the track that he's supposed to follow. Freaking amazing! I love the little detail, and like he had the little PlayStation sounds too, throughout the whole movie. I loved it.
Or the new achievement. I was like,
Yes, I loved it. Like a cheat or goal reach and stuff like that. It was such a cool touch. But anyways, he wins this game. We skipped over a part where he actually the night before his game he goes out drinking with his buddies and his brother gets pulled over the cops. He ends up running away from the cops. And I was thinking like this is what Fast and Furious used to be like, kind of thing. That's the feeling I kind of got. Just running from the
and you
cops.
know what? with that too, talk about like the perfect amount of time for a scene. Like it didn't drag on too long. It gave us the point that this man's good. This is how his mind works, and they get away with it. And here we go. Like it, I did appreciate that they like showed us what this movie was going to be early on.
And I'm sure that was part of fabricated too, like in this movie, because like it just happens to be the night before his race. And wouldn't you think they grabbed his plates and can look him up later and stuff like that? Like, so I'm sure that was just added for the story. But like you said, the pacing was great with the movie, or especially with that part alone, because they could have easily added like another 20 minutes, and they didn't even show the confrontation between him and his dad, which they could have.
Yep. Yep. They could have
Um,
dragged it into some soap opera. I'm disappointed at blah blah. No, no.
like you knew it, like you saw how afraid they were, like in the car when they seen his dad right there. So you get it. You didn't have to see it. Like the director was very, very smart in like making choices like that. Because
What's the thing that they say? It's show not tell,
yeah,
and this movie crushes it at that.
and there's a couple of moments like that in this movie, like the moment where they're Orlando Bloom and David were like talking about like should we just say the other guy won instead of John so to give him like they didn't show that conversation. They just you just moved on and they just showed you through their actions.
Did
I,
you I should have asked you this before we started. Did you look up the story at all? Like, did you have any idea of what the story was before you watched the movie?
just the general aspects of it, I didn't look up to see how much of it was real or not.
Okay, so yeah, I went in completely blind. So stuff like that was actually super like tense for me because I was like, is this where it ends? Like, what
Yeah.
happens next? Like, it was those small moments that really kept me engaged.
And it's hard to like biopics like this sport is super dangerous. Like people literally die from this movie. Like not this movie, this sport, either getting car wrecks or something happening. Like and there's a couple moments in there like where you think he's gonna die, but it's hard to take that into play because like he's obviously still around. Like he was in the trailers and stuff like that, the special looks.
I'll tell you what though, I'm sure you've already seen it, Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
Okay, similar to that though, how that one ends, there was a part of me that was like, dude, he could cut it like at any point in this movie, and then like we'll go from there. Or like I wasn't looking at the watch, I was like, I don't know what time it is, like how long are we in? Like there was a good amount of threat, and maybe this is the best double feature of all time between those two. But to that point, yeah, I was actually like, what's gonna happen here?
Yeah, and it's not just with like it's almost with every biopic, like when their life is on the line, like obviously I know you're still alive, like but
I saw the trailer, the ending shot, man. You're good.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, like he wins his race, the simulator race, and he goes to an academy thrown by Nissan. And this is the never been done before. This is the first time ever like something like this happening. So they're kind of learning as they go along too. And part of the part of the challenge was for Orlando Bloom's character is finding a coach willing to take on these gamers. Like they never set foot on a NASCAR race or a race car race. They never have even been in the car before like this, like in a real life car. Everyone's assuming they just know what it's like to hold a console in your hand, a controller in your hand, which I don't blame them. This is like if I played Madden and want to go play for the NFL, like no one's gonna take you serious, even though
Oh,
they probably don't realize it's a simulator and there's actual steering wheel and paddles and stuff like that. They just hear console or PS, PlayStation, and they just assume, which I don't blame them. I would do the same thing. So they get like 10 plus players. Orlando Bloom, a def, eventually recruits. I don't want to keep calling him David. David Borow's character, he recruits him because he was a former driver, but then you find out later in the movie he had an accident, and he's just a mechanic for this rich, snotty, Johnny Cash kind of guy who's just an asshole who becomes his nemesis eventually. So he recruits him, but he's very clear up front. Like, if I feel it's unsafe or these kids give me a hard time, I'm walking. Like, I don't care. I don't need that in my life. I don't need blood on my hands. So, like you said, like the next day comes, he meets all the players, and he gives the most like weirdest pep talk ever. Is like, I am here to prove you guys can't do this. I want you guys to go home and never come back out. I don't think you have what it takes. I think you guys are idiots for coming out here, basically. And I'm going to push you as hard as you can if you decide to stay. Like, if you want to walk, there is no shame right now. This is the hardest thing you would ever have to do in your life. Only a handful of people in the world can do it. And I think I could be wrong about this. Was the real guy in the top 10 in the top 10 contestants. The one with the
Yes.
dreads. I thought that was him, like, but I don't know for sure it was him because they didn't really focus on his character a lot. He was just, oh, he's eliminated, but they didn't even show him going.
Yeah.
And probably the coolest thing about this movie, the original guy, was his own stunt driver for the movie. So freaking
Oh,
cool and badass. So there's a montage of the training, and then this is skipping over a lot of plot twists, not plot twists, but like plot details. But long story short, he gets in, and he was seeing like cheering yes, and like holy cow, to see someone's dream coming true. He portrays it very well, and it was so heartwarming in that moment. I was like, fuck, he did it. He wanted it. No one believed in him. Everyone, his biggest fear was going home and proving everyone right.
and he
That
even
you,
says that, dude. Like after the,
yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
yeah, but like, he doesn't want anyone to believe that this was all for nothing.
Right. And then everyone was right. Like he pretty much just wasted his time out here and wasted his time with these video games. Um, but anyways, he wins the academy. Everyone goes home a little bit, and that was like, if they would have ended the movie right there, it almost could have been a solid movie just from that alone.
Yeah.
But then he realized like, oh, there's like two more acts of the movie. The second act is like, okay, he passed the academy, but now I guess he has to qualify for his license, his uh official license of racing. Um, if he can't get it, his license, he has to qualify by getting at least fourth place in a race or higher within, I think, 7 races. I think it was. They did such a good job in the first one following him because he looked like he was about to do it, but then like they didn't really seem to prep for him like how to like deal with people bumping into, which I didn't even know it was allowed. I didn't even know like dirty racing was a thing before this movie because like they were like picking on him. He like all these
Yes.
racers are like, you don't belong here, like so we're gonna fuck with you basically. It's kind of
Yeah, they
like
were
the
quite
like
targeting my man's.
yeah, it's kind of like the new kid going to new school kind of thing. They all hate him.
And everybody's in on
Yeah, it's basically like the movie Bring It On, where she goes to new school.
it. God.
So, anyways, he does a montage. I think he goes throughout the full 7 races until he finally gets it. We're skipping over a lot, which I think
Yeah.
everyone should go see this movie to see what we're talking about.
Yeah, good.
He comes in fourth place in such a great, fantastic way. Um, I think it's the very next race where he's kind of celebrating. He gets signed by Nissan, like to have him take him on as their racer. Um, gets a giant signing bonus, and they had like this is where definitely David and John start forming a bond a little bit. He has a beer with him at this nice restaurant, and he tells him like, "Man, like, don't you miss it?" Like he was like, "Don't you have that feeling in the car where you just feel like the car's on a track and like you don't feel anything and everything all at once? Like it's so adrenaline. You can see his emotions in his voice and his face that he almost like was robbed of that feeling because he said like you don't really find out there, but like you find out like later he was one of the best. He was a great racer, and then something tragic happened, and he couldn't continue anymore. You could tell that that's always stuck with him. But then as it's happening, these two girls come up to him and ask John for his autograph. I was like, whoa, like that was pretty quick to get his first autograph. Like, oh, like I don't know how I would react to something like that. Like you go from playing your PlayStation like to like, oh, people really like what I do. You probably doesn't even hit you as a gamer that people are like that. So then he gets signed, he gets a signing bonus, and like you mentioned, he flies out this girl, his love interest in this movie, to Japan. And I always wanted to visit Japan, but now I want to go even more. Like how they portrayed it in this movie, like it was pretty cool. I know my mom was like squirming in her seat, like that seems like too many people and too squirmish. I was like, I guess, but
It was vibrant. It was beautiful. They did a really good job.
and Orlando Bloom's character throughout this whole time too, you can tell he wanted to be very supportive, but at the same time, he's like, you shouldn't be here. Like we wanted the other guy, kind of sneaky. And
Hey,
then
you know what? For someone who has doubts, I still got to give him credit for trusting the process.
yeah, because if he loses, like if he didn't even get his license, like it would all come down to him. Like you just wasted all of our money, all of our time. So
Yeah,
his ass was on the line. He knew that.
literally.
Yeah. So then he becomes like an official racer now. He has his license, and I think his very first race, his net his nemesis, I guess you can call him, the guy in the gold car. He gets in a horrible accident. Like he sees his car flip several times, and like there was a moment like where it goes silent for like 2 seconds. You hear like throughout a lot of people's voices, like it just took your breath away. It's like holy cow! And that's when you first realize like, oh shit, there is consequences to this kind of race. Like you see that danger in what they're doing, and you also see it in John's character. I was like, fuck, like I if I would have seen that, like I would have quit right then and there. Honestly, like that's just too real for me. I couldn't do it. But he's the trooper. He still sticks with his guts. He's trusting his coach. He's learning a lot more in the race. He's learning how to control the car a little bit better and stuff like that. And a few races go by. He's still doing very well, and he's killing it in the races. And there's a moment in this movie where I realized I was like, all right, this movie's 2 hours and 14 minutes. We're coming up in an hour 30, hour 45 minutes. Something's gonna happen to push us last in the third act to push it like the limit. And sure enough, right on time, one of his races, he gets in a horrible accident. A tragic in the moment, like where everyone's jaw dropped. Like I know I've seen a couple of people cover their hands over their face. He gets in a horrible accident. He goes to the hospital. And what's even worse, like his parents are watching on TV and they hear like, was that his car? And like it just breaks them. There's nothing you can do as a parent at that moment. You're so far away from them, just witnessing, and you probably couldn't even hear from him like for like another 2 days or whatever, how long it takes, like if he's okay, or what happened exactly.
Well, and with that too, you talked about, his father. That scene of like his parents freaking out, like his mom's obviously hysterical, but his dad, like the juxtaposition of him just like crying but not saying anything.
He was in
He's just
shock.
like waiting for more information. Like that, they really did good with that.
Yeah, he was in shock. I thought like he didn't know how to deal with it. I wouldn't think it's real, honestly. If I was witnessing that, like seeing my child or even like a family, like a brother or something like that, I that's got to be so hard to deal with. And I felt like they portrayed that very well in this movie. Like they're heartbreaking. And it sucks they're not there, and they would have fly. I that was my biggest thing. I don't know why they didn't fly out immediately. You know?
That see, don't get me started.
Yeah, yeah. So he wakes up a couple days. John wakes up a couple days later in the hospital, and he finds out unfortunately in that car crash he killed somebody. It wasn't his fault. It was legit a freak accident. Everyone kept trying to remind him, but he's carrying guilt on him. He like, if I would never have been in this position. That if I was never in this position, this would never ever happen. And it kind of goes into like a depression a little bit.
Yep.
And it's very heavy on him. He doesn't even want to see his parents because he doesn't want to prove them that they're right. Everyone just want to make sure he's okay, but he's like more ashamed and heartbroken that somebody lost their life because of you. Which I would honestly, I would throw me into a depression. I would
Yeah.
never get back behind the wheel again. And he was
Spiral.
headed down that road until David had a heart to heart moment with him. I was like, I never told you why I stopped. I got in a bad car accident and I killed somebody. Like it's something that just is part of the sport. It happens. But I think the guy's last words was to him saying like it's not your fault.
Yeah.
But he still took that to heart, and he was too afraid to get back behind the wheel. And so not only do you live with that guilt of accidentally killing somebody, you live with that guilt of never knowing how good you could be. You just stop right there, and that's gonna eat at you your entire life.
Regret.
If David had somebody like that in his life, like him in his life, he probably would still be on the road. But he sees like the road he's gonna be headed down to a life of misery and regret and stuff like that. He doesn't want to. He can't let that fly with John. John slowly takes his time. He gets back in the car and he like takes a couple of breaths and stuff like that. It's like, all right, he's healing well. He works out a little bit more, and he's like, all right, I think I could do this now. Such a great moment. I didn't stop right here real quick. The soundtrack of this movie alone was awesome.
Uh,
Not only
Phenomenal.
with like the music they threw in there, like real life music, but like just the music they composed for this movie. Like it was touching us to the right moment. It was very motivational. It got my adrenaline up in the right spots. It was very smart. Everything about this movie is so fucking smart. So then his very next race, because like he gets better and he's like announces he's gonna keep playing racing. Nissan Nissan has said like, all right, we can still let you play. I mean, not play race, but there's some campaigns to get your license taken away, which sucks because like it's possible they can get his license taken away.
What a kick in the teeth too, to
Yeah,
like go through all of that, the trauma of that, finally decide, you know what, I think I am ready, and then to be like, actually, they're trying to rip this from you
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Which is like you said, like it could have happened to anybody, but the fact that it happened to him, it just sucked. And I thought there was maybe going to be like a problem with that because his car went flying over a hill. Basically, he was going too fast and he went flying, legit flying. I thought maybe because like somebody was going to get in trouble, like they should have told him to slow down or something was rigged. I don't know. I was just curious to see how, but it was. I guess it's just a free accident. It happens every once in a while.
Well, even David Harbour's character says something along the lines of like, I should have told you to pit sooner. Like it seemed like it all the wrong things happened, and something about the wind. Like
Yeah,
you can't, there's no game plan for something like that.
it's
What
a
fence? Like, of course he goes in the one where the fence is not tall enough and it's not sturdy enough. Like freak accident, like you said.
yeah, it's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda kind of scenarios. So finally gets up the courage to go racing. All right, but like with this campaign going around, he's like, "There's only one way we can do it. We can gain everyone's trust back, and that's if we not pedestal. What did they call it when they get like the top three podium? If we podium,
Podium.
which you basically begin in the top three, and
And
like
to that,
into
the
like
thing about
the
the campaign,
yeah.
I just love like the build up to this.
So not only are they do they have to podium for the next race, but the next race just happens to be like the most dangerous race you could. It's a 24-hour race. You were racing for legit a full day. Um, one where it's going to legit push your limits as a driver, and it's going to be the most dangerous. One that requires a team of three players. I guess three races in general or
Three
overall.
races.
And he's like, "Yep, I can do this. Let's become immortal." Like that was my favorite line in the movie. Let's be immortal. And like he had a smile on his face. It's like, all right, he's feeling himself again. Like, let's do this. Like, I gotta put my fears aside and prove to everybody this is worth happening. This is I'm he basically saying like this is my dream. I'm not gonna let anything stop me from achieving my dream. And he's just a good overall kid because at the same time he gave him David a gift because I thought the funny detail was he's a big fan of Kenny G and all these jazz music to soften him up, and he gives an iPod to David because he's all hard Metallica kind of music, and he's like, finally I can teach you something. I was like, this is a good, humbling kid who deserves everything. He's work hard, and it just proves that if you just stick with your gods and hardworking, your dreams would come true.
Yeah, it's the difference between confidence and arrogance, and
Yes.
it believes in himself.
Yeah. So they need two other racers, and who do they get to come race with them? Are the two kids from the academy who still race, but just in a different league, in a lower league than them. So they still have what it takes. They're not probably not as many hours as him. Um, but now they're cool. Before they kind of gave him hate. Well, the one kid especially gave him hate for losing to him. But he gained his respect, and they even told him like, "Hey, stuff that happened, that's not your fault." And I thought in the moment, I was like, "Why would you bring that up again? He's just getting over that." So they all get in the race. It's a 24-hour race. They're taking 3-hour shifts each. I was like, man, and this is the heartwarming scene we've seen with his father, like the whole time where they give each other hugs. Like, I'm so proud of you. I didn't. He said the line, "I didn't support you in the right way," which is the biggest character development. Like he realized he was kind of being an asshole. He didn't believe in his son like he should have, and it was just heartwarming to see him have that moment with his dad. And even the son was like, "Hey, I always was proud of you too. I have your
Well,
team's logo on my helmet always." And then it was just a proud moment, proud, happy moment. Then they go to the race, and there's this big ceremony, and I was like, there's a scene where like the helicopter comes with three armed people from the army. I was like, this is kind of overdoing it, but okay, I guess we're doing it. And they start the
well,
race.
it set the stage as the grandest of them all.
How about that kid with the mustache, like the other driver, like on his team? I was
Yeah,
like, man, that guy can rock a mustache.
he's crushing it right now.
So, anyways, this race starts. He takes the first 3 hours. Within like before the first turn, there was like several crashes that just went off the course. I was like, what? This
Dude,
is supposed to be the best of the best.
That's what I was thinking. Like, imagine training your entire career to get to that moment, and
Yeah.
then that happened to you lap one. You know,
Yeah.
dude.
To me, they didn't look that bad. Maybe they can still get in the race, but like they got to catch up. But anyways, he has another moment with another nemesis on the track, where he gets into a bad fiery car accident. Another wild one. I think it still was in the first lap too. But seeing that puts John in, like, PTSD mode, or like fuck, he was going back to his accident. It was like man, I felt that so hard. Like if I would have seen that shit,
Yeah, and he
and because of
locks
it,
up.
yeah, he locks up. His head's not in the game. And his team's kind of freaking out. Like, what do we do? Like, how can we get him back in there? And David starts playing Kenny G, kind of snaps him back out of it, and is like, all right, good, you're fucking pissed off. Like, let's use that anger. And then sure enough, like he takes off. He's killing it in the race. He's passing up all these people. He's catching up to like the top five, I think, eventually. Um, Obviously you don't follow him throughout the entire race, but like 3 hours later, you see them switch cars. I mean, switch people. 3 hours later, switching people. The part that like I got mad about, like, yeah, your racers race for 3 hours, and then you're gonna switch so they can have time to rest. I was like, they just give him like a cheap lawn chair to sit in. I was like, give him like a freaking
Yeah,
lazy boy or something.
yeah, they're not getting good sleep in that scenario.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I wonder like if Davis staying up the entire 24 hours, like that's gotta be rough on him too. But at the same time, I'm sure the adrenaline rush is running through you throughout the whole race.
Oh yeah,
And then lost
especially
what one thing I thought, what was that?
I said, especially when it gets like rainy and it
Yeah.
starts like getting dark and all that. Like, yeah, of course you're gonna be on edge.
Yeah. And I was like, they didn't check the freaking weather beforehand. Like, it is cool that they still race, but I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah, schedule to keep.
Um, one of the things that I thought was kind of cheesy and cliche that I kind of wish they didn't do throughout the entire movie, like all these big races that he's just finishing like by a hair. Like I can see one or two races, but it's every race he's like these big races. We see him winning just by barely. And then long story short, he wins this race just by a hair. And you see everyone's reaction. Like he did it. Everyone's so heartwarming, like, especially David. Like he falls to the ground. Such a good moment. They don't even win it, but they come in third place. But just the fact that you stand on the podium with everybody, phenomenal. His dream came true, and it was so heartwarming. What did you think about like everyone's chemistry together overall?
I thought minus the love story, like you said, it really did feel like one of the studio heads was like, we need to put a relationship in here. No,
Yeah,
but every and then I guess one more thing is like his best friend popped up at the end, and I completely forgot that character existed. I was like, oh yeah,
yeah.
it was hyping him up. Like you thought that he'd be around for more, like even if everybody else wasn't. But other than that, man, the father son relationship between him and David Harbour, and and even Orlando Bloom's character, the culmination of all of the hard work, all the belief, all the faith, and just the process and his ability paying off. Dude, I was grinning ear to ear by the end of this movie.
And you mentioned his best friend showing up randomly. At the end, like I seen his brother in the stands too. I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot all about your fucking brother. Like he was a big part of Act One, and you just never see him again. Um, Overall, it was very great. Like the soundtrack was amazing, the graphics were amazing. Um, the racing, like the drone. I'm not really been a big fan of drones, like filming it, but like they did it really well in this movie with it. Like it wasn't too overkill, like Michael Bay's kind of thing. Um,
Ambulance? Oh,
I
yeah.
fucking hated that. Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
thank
they
you.
did it the
Okay.
perfect amount in this movie, and I know like the real guy stunt drove and for it, like the actor, but they filmed it so well, like you couldn't even tell like they were switching back and forth, like from camera angles to like him in the car or him. They did his acting was great in this movie. David, I seen this like I said again just for David Burrow, and then my biggest thing was like, does this movie hold up again? The second time watching it, I would say the first two acts don't really hold up as well as again, but with the third act, like I know what's happening, I know the crashes are coming, stuff like that, but still like you get that goosebumps. Like oh fuck, like it does hold up. So I thought that was very well in this aspect of the movie. I wish there was something like a pill you could take or something like that where you can watch something for the first time again.
Eh, So I got to put you on the spot. One movie you can watch again for the first time.
It's hard because I thought about it for so long for a couple movies. Like Top Gun Maverick was probably my most recent one. That movie was so good to see in IMAX for the first time. And the closest thing you can get to it is like go with people who haven't seen that movie and watch their reactions, you know?
Yeah.
What about you? What was your first movie you could watch for the first time again?
Endgame.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one too, I guess.
All the call it fan service, all those tiny moments. If I could do that again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like watching YouTube videos like where somebody comes up on screen and everyone goes crazy. Like, yeah, like that legit happened. Like we were all hyped for that shit. Um, this movie, I'm definitely gonna like wait to see it again for a while because I want to have that reaction again, as close as
Yeah.
I can at least. I might even buy the DVD, and I really don't buy DVDs like that.
Dude, I love physical media. I have a pretty decent. Oh,
This is,
like more so movies that I like this one. I'll definitely get.
I thought it was incredible. Everything was phenomenal. Honestly, like I can't pick any really big flaw in this movie that would have changed my answer for the rating. What would you give 1 out of 10?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get a little higher. Let's get closer to like an 8.5.
I'm giving it a solid 9. I think 9. It was not slow at all. Like pacing was fantastic. Chemistry was amazing. The graphics were awesome. Um,
It gets extra points, as you were saying, for being a true story. Hitting that at the end, especially with the wrap up, like this all happened. Obviously some's exaggerated, but like you said, man, like you can't beat a biopic that's built this way.
yeah. You know what? They didn't even they showed real pictures of the real people at the end, but they didn't show David's character. So I wonder if his character was fabricated.
Ugh, that would be interesting. I would
It
hope
would
not.
it would happen the first time. Speaking of true stories, you hear what's going on with that movie with Sandra Bullock and the football player where she adopts a football
Yeah,
player?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Blindside.
The Blind Side, where the movie's about her adopting this kid and he ends up falling in love with football and becomes very successful. It turned out that movie's a fucking lie. Like they didn't adopt him; they just made him sign some papers that he thought were adoption papers,
They
but
never
like
adopted. Yeah, they never adopted him. That's the craziest
they
part
were just
about.
gaining money off of him throughout the whole time, and that's a big lawsuit going on right now.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about that is like for whatever, there's a lot of people you can be upset about. It's weird for people to blame Sandra Bullock. Like I don't know why people were
Uh,
coming at her. She
I-
just she did her job, but everybody else, like those parents, that family is full of shit. Whatever.
yeah,
I
and they
hate
knew what
that.
they were doing too, because I've seen stuff like with the real life brother comes out was like, yeah, this has been a long time coming, stuff like that. This lawsuit, so like they knew what they were doing. It's fucked up. Um, this has definitely been the year for biopics, and I want to make a like a not YouTube, like a probably TikTok video in the year. For true stories that happen. Like there's I don't know if you've seen the movie Tetris, like
Yes, dude. Yes, Terrence Egerton.
yeah. Um Oppenheimer, this is good handful of biopics. I can't think off the top of my head right
Was
now, but there's been so many
Blackberry
good.
here?
Blackberry, you know what? The Blackberry was not showing anywhere near my theaters, and I'm mad because I really wanted to see that. I'm hoping it'll show up on like Max or something.
Flaming Hot. Yeah, actually,
That
I
was a good
now
one.
that I think about it, yeah, you got a lot of based on true story. That one wasn't totally true, but there's a decent amount this year.
Yeah, and for being like the very last summer blockbuster movie, I thought like what a way to go out. It was such a good timing movie. If it would have came out like early this month, it kind of would have been the last one would have been Strays. Like we're gonna be talking about the next movie, but so I think it went out with a bang. Like it was such a good movie. Everyone else stands out perfectly in this movie. Um, solid 9 out of 10. I think you said 8.5, which is still a great rating. So now I want to transition to our second movie that came out in theaters this year. Just about a week or two ago, we're gonna talk about Strays, the newest Will Ferrell comedy. I remember seeing trailers for this. Yeah, it looks pretty funny, but I also thought like this movie looks stupid as fuck. Like I didn't even think I was gonna talk about it on the podcast. But this movie was directed by Josh Greenbaum, written by Dan Parrott. I'm not really sure what his work has been before. It's about an abandoned dog teams up with other strays to get revenge on his former owner. This has a shit ton of famous people in this movie.
Ton of famous people, a lot of cameos, all the things.
You have Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx, Isla Fisher, Randall Park, Will Forte, Brett Gelman, Rob Riggle, Josh Gad. I didn't even know Josh was in there. Sofia Vergara. I didn't even know she was in this movie. Greta Lee, uh, Jimmy Tatro. I didn't know he was in this movie. And a handful of other ones I'm seeing. This movie knows what it is. It's not going to win any awards. I talked to movies like this before. It's supposed to just make you laugh for like this hour and 30 minutes. And man, it doesn't make you laugh. I thought the funniest parts were going to be in the trailer. No, they
Oh,
held back some stuff in this movie.
no, they held back the greatest things.
Will Forte's in this movie. I always imagine him older than what he is because like sometimes like you see photos of him and he looks really old, but like in this one he doesn't look that old. And he's maybe like 40s, 50, early 50s. Um, and when you make a movie about talking animals, there's a couple of ways you can do it that I don't really like. They chose the one to do where like the mouths match the words that they're saying. There's some where like you just show the look on their face without their mouths moving and talking on it. Or they yeah, and it's like they're thinking. They make a fun of point like about a narrating dog in their head too. Like so I was kind of glad they went with the way they did. Like they showed like the mouths matching what they were saying. I think there is a point in the movie where they transition into that really though. And how they
Yep.
did that was very smart. And you take away a couple things from this movie is like one, like just be a better pet owner.
Literally, don't abandon people.
Yeah, and just be like a better friend too. Like this whole movie was like based off like a realistic narcissist relationship with like, it could be like a between a man and a woman or you know a man and their partner or a woman and their partner where like you want to love them as much as you can but like no matter what they're never gonna love you the same and you start thinking I'm the problem and stuff like that and you want to please them and like you know what I'm gonna leave and you leave and then you want to go back like you know what I could probably change them again like you go through all the same emotions in this movie. Jamie Foxx plays. Like I would never picture him in a million years to play this little dog. They picked like the ugliest dog they could think of for his character too. And this could be just me, but like you know the way his face was, the white and black, it almost looked like a dick on his face, right?
I think that was subtle. Yeah.
Some of these jokes went over like people's head, like well, because I took my little cousin, and I was kind of nervous because like the first 10 minutes of like showing Forte playing with his dick the whole time. I was like, oh god,
The Jamie Foxx couch scene. Yeah.
yeah. Some of the funniest gags in this movie. Um, and they picked man. The more I watched, is like they did such a good job training these dogs, like to climb up these things, go navigate or whatever they want to do. And there's some scenes where I can kind of tell like there were green screens, like when they were trying to make them hump, like you just can tell like someone was shaking them like that. How did you feel about the chemistry overall in this movie?
Dude, I'm on the same page as you. The definition of a toxic relationship, gaslighting, all the things, and that love that will never be rekindled the same way. But I think that the comedic timing on this was also next. I guess it's a little easier if you're just recording the lines, but everybody was hidden. I loved it.
That's a good point. There's another movie with a good soundtrack in this movie too. I really like the old school hip hop rap in there. I'm sure Jamie Foxx had a lot to say in that too, probably. Um, I cannot like it was so funny throughout the whole thing, and the whole premises is like he gets abandoned by Will Forte's character, who's just like a white trash douchebag in this movie. And I don't know if you noticed this play a subtle joke, like his license plate was D's, and he had like a pair of nuts hanging from his truck. And then once Reggie finds out, like realizes like, oh fuck, he abandoned me. They get drunk and stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna go find him and rip his dick off.
His dick. And you know what, man? I hated the trailer of this.
Yeah.
I was not interested at all until we were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'll go see this. And it's even stuff like that, seeing the full scene breathe. I was like, this is a genuinely funny ass movie.
And there's a couple of jokes throughout the whole movie that I want to get into, like specifically like the mushroom scene. We see in the trailer a little bit where they get they go on this like psychedelic trip from eating these mushrooms, and they find like this. Oh man, I was laughing so hard when they find like this little hole that has like, guys, there's bunny toys in this, and they're playing with it, ripping it apart, and they wake up the next morning like find out they just slaughtered a bunch of rabbits that were everywhere.
It was in my theater. It was a genuine like ah.
Yeah, yeah. The moment you realize it, yeah, there's a couple moments like that. And there's also poke fun and like some jokes that are from a dog's perspective that you don't really think about. Like, why do the humans collect their poop? They think they're making chocolate with it. I guess I never really thought about like what dogs think of when we pick up their poop. And then the pee on everything roll, you pee on it, it's yours. It's pretty fucking hilarious.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's territory claiming it.
yeah, and then the scene where they break out of jail, where they poop on everything. Um,
Oh.
and it just brings
it's
you.
it's rated R, man. This is this is grimy. This is raunchy.
One of my favorite scenes too is like the invisible friends gag, where they do not believe that one of their friends is fenced in the
Real.
yard because they don't see a fence. Like, I'm telling you guys, it's there. Trust me. Like, just come on, dude, just jump.
Dude, just
So
go. Just make it happen.
he runs and he gets zapped, of course. And then Reggie like, I'm gonna run through that fence, and he does it, and nothing happens. Like, they think he's a god because he avoided this invisible fence. There's a couple funny gags throughout the whole movie. They get drunk a couple times. There's a part where like a hawk comes, swoops him up. Well, not Reggie. Bug,
Bug.
and you also make him like sympathy too, because you find out Bug actually had a human family until one simple mistake. And I was like, oh fuck. Like, there's a part where you do feel sympathy for these characters, specifically Doug, not Doug. Not
Bug.
Bug. No, not Bug. Will Ferrell's dog.
So the thing about that whole thing is like they could have just went for the jokes, right? They were already doing that, but to give those characters those tragic backstories only invest you in it more. So when it pays off, you're like, all right. Like there's no sadness involved. You're just happy to go along for
Yeah.
the ride.
Yeah, because they said all of them had like there's Hunter, he had that cone on his head throughout the whole movie. Find out he didn't even need that cone. He just wanted for like,
Need it. Need it.
yeah. And then the other girl, like, she was heartbroken because she felt useless or like replaced because her owner got like a cuter, smaller dog, and she just felt useless. So she finds her place at the
Automatic
end.
beef.
Like, yeah, they all had good, happy endings too. It was such a good, I hate to say relatable movie, but like a good one where we could see the real life scenarios, like where like narcissistic relationships and stuff like that, like a feeling of abandonment, a feeling of uselessness, feeling of needing comfort all the time because you have too much anxiety. They take these real life problems and they threw them to a dog and made a comedy out of it.
And relatable and approachable for everybody. Like who would have thought?
Do you think they'll make a sequel out of it? And if so, would you watch it?
I well, yeah, I definitely watch it. I don't know if they. I'm definitely in that mode of like, does everything need a sequel? And I hate being that guy, but like, we need more comedy. So if they make this, they get this cast together, same team behind it. It'd be weird to not watch it again.
I can see them doing another sequel, probably not the same cast though. Um,
Well, there's so much more they can do now. They've entered, it's the world building.
yeah, you're probably gonna see cats down the line too and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Even though the beef with cats was great too.
Yeah. And then you get to the very end when they actually like they fight Doug, and like there's a scene where like he falls down on his back and he hits his head, and then you see Hunter's paws just come on his shoulders like to pin him down. And as soon as you saw that, you knew what was coming. And like that's the part of my whole theater just busted out laughing throughout the whole time. And then sure enough, Reggie goes to fucking town on it, and he bites his dick off. Like, you don't see him actually rip it off, but like there's blood all over his sweatpants and everything. And like the cherry on top, like Hunter like shits on his face. And this is another movie I said like I went to go see for the second time like within a couple days to see if it holds up. Same thing. Like most of the jokes don't really land the same way, but that ending was like it hit the same way. It was very funny. Um,
I'm excited to watch that part again, even if like I just can see that clip because it's with the score again in the background, making you feel ready for it. And then, like you said, when the paws come out, you're like, here we go.
yeah, and then they walk out with while the building on fire to Miley Cyrus's wrecking ball. It was just so funny. It was so genius. Comedic timing in this movie was freaking impeccable. Um, Editing was pretty good too to make you sound like make it look like these dogs are talking. And then the dogs acting in this movie was pretty awesome for what it was. I like that they poked fun at like these sweet, lovable dog like Marley and Me kind of movies where like the dog is like narrating in their head trying to set up these couples, and then he's like, and
Sorry.
then Bug goes like, "No one gives a fuck what you're saying, guy," and he was like, "It's too bad because like this guy is a serial killer, but I guess no one wants to hear about that."
Just talking all this shit.
This is one of those movies where the whole theater was laughing together and just had that feeling. It's awesome to do that. Like you're all laughing at the same things, regardless if it's a stupid joke. All of them are stupid jokes, but to have that
Facts.
reaction with everybody, you feel connected to like just other people, other humans in general. They do something magical when they do that. What would you rate this movie 1 out of 10?
Dude, I love this movie. This was so good for me. It's hard because I just gave the other one an 8.5. I think about an 8. Like I
Yeah,
probably enjoyed that one more, but yeah, around that 8 frame.
it's kind of a different style of rating, but yeah, I give it
Yeah.
an 8 too. Uh, if we watch this again, probably not in theaters, but definitely once it comes on streaming, I would watch it again because I've already seen it twice. It's
Oh
one of those
yeah.
ones where
This is
you can go watch with your friends and laugh your ass off together.
that's what I was gonna say. Even like throw it on like while you're doing a pregame or just a lazy Saturday. Like when it comes on, there's enough scenes in here that you're like, all right, I'm just gonna plop down and watch this.
Exactly, exactly. This was like I said, technically the last summer block. No, actually, this came out before Gran Turismo, but it's
Yeah.
still one of the very last ones in there. And it was just because you threw names in there like Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx starring in it. You already knew people were gonna go see it just because of that fact alone. I love Jamie Foxx and everything he does. I kind of expected him to sing a little bit in this movie, but I guess he didn't. Um, Will Ferrell, I'm gonna see anything he is, regardless if it sucks or not.
Backs, backs, spirited, great
He sings in Spirit too. He has a voice too.
movie.
The next Christmas movie, it might get pushed back now, but I don't know. It's Apple TV with Chris Evans and The Rock.
Red one.
Yeah, I haven't heard any news about it since like earlier this year, so don't know if
Yeah.
it's coming out or not still.
I am. You're all right. If it wasn't done filming, it was 100% going to get pushed back, which is a crime because I've been waiting for a while for this one.
Well, there's movies like that are done filming, just for whatever reason pushing back. Like
Brave and the Hunter,
yeah, I was just
Dune.
gonna say that one. Like that movie, like the trailer was out. I think we had two trailers for it or something like that already. And they pushed it back all over a year. I was like, why? Like that is ridiculous.
And
Like
to that point, your background right there, we're supposed to get Spider-Verse in March of next year. 0% that's happening now.
they don't even
Or
have
in
an
March.
announcement when that's supposed to come out. Like I'm wondering, as soon as the strike is gonna be over, I bet you they're gonna announce like, all right, it's coming out in 2 months.
There's a lot to announce now. That's going to be a
Yeah.
tough one.
Brandon, I know this isn't gonna be your last time on this podcast this year, but what other movies are you looking forward to? It's kind of hard to pick
That
now.
didn't get pushed back.
Yeah.
um, so Dune was my the one I was going to end the year on.
Yeah.
I think Flowers of the
Oh,
no, yeah, the Scorsese Leo movie. I'm
yeah.
super pumped about that one coming out next. I think it's September Labor Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Are you a big horror fan? Because it's a pretty big horror
No,
year.
0%. No,
Me too.
nope,
I'm
nope,
such a
nope.
pussy, dude.
Leave it alone.
I looked at
I'm not watching any of that.
I knew I had to do The Exorcist. I knew I had to do that when we for the
No.
podcast, but then I was looking at my schedule like, fuck, I wrote down I was doing The Nun too. I was like, lately, like, you know what? You would not believe they've been showing those two trailers in every single movie I've been seeing. They show those movies when I went to go see Blue Beetle. They showed a Paw Patrol trailer.
Oh, what?
Directly after that, they played the Nun 2 trailer. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's probably kids watching this scared out of their fucking mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So I gotta go see the Nun 2.
No,
I'm definitely gonna be torturing myself this fall. But as I'm watching these trailers, they're getting a little bit less scary, and I'm hoping they show all the scary parts in the trailer, and I'll be more prepared.
You are a better man than me because I do not have that in me.
I've legit thought about like letting someone else do my podcast for that episode, but
I was
we'll
like, I
see.
typically am always like, I'll do one scary movie a year. Last year, I think it was Black Mask, and then I was like, I'm out. Like after that, like this,
The blast mask wasn't
I'm
even
mean,
that
not Black,
scary though.
not sorry, the
The
Black
black phone,
Phone.
yeah, the
Yeah,
black
I was
phone
like,
wasn't even that scary though.
it was more of a thriller, but hey, it counted
Yeah,
towards my thing. I checked the box. I'm not doing that again.
yeah. You see,
So we'll see.
they're making a black phone too.
Of course they are.
And speaking of sequels coming out, like John Wick just came out.
Yep.
That show Continental's coming out sometime September, I believe, on the Peacock. So I'm excited to start watching that soon.
If it doesn't get pushed back.
Yeah, I think the only movie that besides the Martin Scorsese movie you just mentioned, the something Rose of Wildfire or something like that. Um, I guess Wonka might be the only big one coming out.
Wonka, yeah, I was thinking Timothy Chalamet, Willy Wonka prequel. Isn't
The Marvels is
the
coming
Hunger
out.
Games?
Oh yeah, that one does look very good.
I'll
I
probably
think it's
watch
like
that.
the first ever Hunger Games. I think it's what it is.
Yeah, something like that. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Brandon. Thanks a lot for saving my ass on this last minute episode. I kind of asked you like a couple days ago, but you came through. I knew to ask you too because I knew you were going to be seeing these movies either way. So
yeah.
I was happy you came on.
Yeah, I love when I get on Instagram. Also, you have a fantastic page, by the way. Both get the
Thanks.
like currently watching or now watching. Like I'm always like, all right, yeah, he's locked in too.
Yeah, yeah. You guys, I can say the same thing about you because like you post a lot about your snack choices, which is pretty classic. So yeah, I'll tag you on this. Everyone should go look at your page because I think you do have a second Instagram page too, right?
Yeah, finally gonna build that out and start the YouTube and all the things.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully by the next time you're coming on, like that's up and running, so we can promote that too. Um, thanks for everyone listening. I think next week is the Equalizer 3. I'm excited about that one. We didn't talk about that. Um, and also we didn't talk about that was Sylvester Stallone movie with Jason Statham.
Oh, Expendables.
Expendables 4 with Megan
Or
Fox. Yeah, so I guess there is a handful of movies coming out still. But we'll see what gets pushed back and what doesn't. But thank you for everyone listening. Stay tuned. Next week, I'll be seeing you.